hearing of the Assembly Committee on Health, and I want to ask that all of the members on the Health Committee please report to room 437. The room was changed just recently because of the need to hold a larger committee hearing by the Appropriations Committee in the room to which this committee was originally assigned. So that may have caused a little bit of confusion. I'm sorry about that. But we just learned to think about the same time everyone else did about the room change. I want to let people know that there are 2 elevators here on this floor, so folks don't feel like they have to take the stairs to come all the way up, and the elevators function very well. And for those who don't want to use the stairs, we do have elevators that can take you back down to the ground floor when you wish to depart. Could we ask if the sergeants could call the members who are absent to let them know that we are starting up? And we have 3 matters before the committee. I just want to remind everyone that the usual rules of the committee will apply, and that is essentially we're limited to 2 principal witnesses per side who will be given the opportunity to testify 3 minutes each, and then we can hear other members of the public who wish to testify, but at that point we'll just want to have you identify yourself, your affiliation, and yay or nay on the particular bill in question. We won't have the time, unfortunately, to hear extensive testimony from everybody else, but it is important that you're here, and it is important that you put the fact of your support or your opposition on the record. I also want to note that the Assembly will be going back into session very shortly this afternoon to take up the 2 bills that are pending dealing with the Race to the Top program. And so we may have to conclude this hearing earlier than we might want to. And I know a lot of people have traveled a great distance to attend this hearing. So my hope is we can move quickly through the items so that all of the items can be heard, so that folks who have traveled a great distance don't have to come back to have their measure heard a later time. So we also have some substitute members. We have Assembly members Nancy Skinner and Felipe Fuentes, who will replace Wilma Carter and Ed Hernandez. And I also understand that Vice Chairman Nathan Fletcher lost a relative who was serving this country in our military, who died overseas in the line of duty. And that caused Mr. Fletcher to have to be absent from this hearing in order to spend time with his loved ones and his family who lost this family member. So he will not be here, and I'm not sure at this juncture who will be substituting for him, but we will certainly be happy to have a member of the Republican caucus substitute for him once someone is identified. Okay, so at this point, I want to start the hearing then. We're going to essentially convene, since we don't have a quorum, we're going to convene as essentially a committee, a subcommittee, to begin hearing bills. We won't be able to take motions or actually vote on motions until such time as we actually have a quorum. So I'm asking the sergeants if they could call each of the absent members' offices now, please, so we can get them up here so we can get a quorum. And I'm going to look to see who we have present in terms of authors. And I note that Ms. Skinner has a bill before the committee, and she is here. And so we're going to start with her bill, which is item number 2, AB 977.
Load seat.
Welcome, Ms. Skinner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. We have before you my bill, Assembly Bill 977, which would allow the California Medical Board and the California Board of Pharmacy to develop a standardized protocol for the administration of influenza vaccine to adults by a trained and certified pharmacist. AB 977 establishes training requirements and continuing education requirements for all pharmacists, as well as documentation of administration requirements to the California Immunization Registry, which is a centralized reporting system for vaccination records. I want to thank the California Medical Association and the California Nurses Association for working with me over the past few months on this bill, and I and the bill sponsors have agreed to accept amendments described on page 3 of the Health Committee analysis. You should have a mock-up of the bill, AB 977, in front of you. These amendments, which are supported, as I mentioned, by both the California Medical Association and the California Nurses Association, limit this measure to adults 18 and over, allow a standardized protocol for influenza vaccines only, adds a 4-year sunset date, and requires an evaluation of the program's effectiveness to be submitted to the Assembly and Senate. I think the importance of this bill is that it provides greater access to a life-saving vaccine to Californians up and down the state. And I have with me today Virginia Herald of the California State Board of Pharmacy and Lynn Ralston of the California Pharmacists Association to testify in support of the bill.
Very good. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Virginia Herald. I'm with the Board of Pharmacy. We are the sponsors of the bill. We support the bill. There wasn't a drafting error we noted right before, and we're going to work with your consultant to correct it that was inadvertent. We just saw it literally within the last 10 minutes. So,
Christy Weiss on behalf of the California Pharmacists Association in support of the bill. We'd like to thank the Assemblywoman and all the other stakeholders. There were some issues that we worked through over the interim, and we're happy we were able to work those out.
Yeah.
We do believe this is an important bill and will help expand consumer access to health care, which obviously, as the healthcare system becomes more and more complicated, we think this is a simple way to expand access, and we ask for your aye vote.
Very good. Let's hear from other witnesses who wish to testify in support.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Strickland had a very good question, which is we have a mock-up which
Yes.
contains the amendments, and all of the members should have the mock-up. And I want to thank Ms. Skinner for working with us on these amendments and working with those that had concerns about the bill on the amendments. Can you just identify for us where the technical drafting issue is in the amendment? And it's also my understanding, too, that it's our intent to get the author's commitment on these amendments at this time, but the actual amendments will be taken in B and P because it's double referred, and it's difficult for us technically to take the amendment here, process it in time for the author to get her bill to B and P and then get it to the floor. So that's why I'm really glad you're asking this question, because we need to know precisely what it is that we're talking about.
And the sponsor had just mentioned running into something within the last 10 minutes. So
Right.
Is that
That's-
in the mock-up
yes.
already?
Actually, with the vacations over the holidays and the delay in getting the language out of Ledge Council, and plus the bill was amended yesterday, there were a series of compounded things, and then the main consultant for our author here is actually out of the office right at the moment. So it just too many hands.
Not a
on
problem. I just was hoping
Yeah.
for clarification.
Okay, what the bill does in its current form that's in front of you occurs on Amendment, actually 14. It repeals on Amendment 14 existing law. We did not intend to repeal existing law. What we intended to do was to add an additional condition under which pharmacists could immunize, which is the gist of what we're talking about here today. It's on Amendment 14, so we would like to restore. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a mock-up. I'm sorry. That's how I just saw it.
Maybe you can give us a section and a
It's 42,
paragraph.
52.8A is existing law, and it's being stricken. That was an inadvertent error. Yeah, we believe Ledge Council made.
Okay,
with
so
all due
in
respect.
section 2 of the committee version of the mock-up, there's a strikeout that was not intended, is what you're
Right.
telling
Correct.
us.
Right.
And so, just so the members are all on the same page, no pun intended, in the mock-up itself, on page 1 of the committee mock-up, there's a significant strikeout of section 4052 of the Business Professions Code at paragraph A, and it's your intent not to strike that out.
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ms. Strickland. I really appreciate your asking the question. Okay, I think we're going to hear from any other witnesses in support at this time, and I think if that concludes the testimony of the witness in support, then why don't we hear from those that had concerns or were formally in opposition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Teresa Stark with the California Medical Association. This bill has been through quite a path. We are are one of the ones who were previously concerned with the bill, but we appreciate very much being able to work with Ms. Skinner and her terrific staff and the sponsors. With the amendments that she's agreed to today, we will be neutral on the measure, and we understand the technical issue here. There may be one more minor technical thing, but I think we can absolutely work that out, and we should be in a good position to be neutral on the bill for when it goes to Assembly Business and Professions, and we want to thank the committee staff as well for helping to facilitate this.
So you're neutral at the moment. Next witness.
In the interest of time, I just want to echo exactly what Ms. Stark had said. Stephanie Roberson with the California Nurses Association, also in the same position, was in an opposed position. But due to the tailoredness of the bill, we believe that we can move to a neutral position. Thank you.
Very good. I want to thank the two organizations who had concerns for working with the author and the committee. I'm advised by the Secretary we have a quorum. Let's call the roll.
Jones.
Here.
Fletcher. Here. Amiano. Here. Block. Skinner.
Here.
Conway. De La Torre. Here. De Leon. Emerson. Here. Gaines. Hall. All here. Hayashi. Here. Fuentes. Lowenthal. Here. Nava. Perez. Salas. Strickland. Here.
Very good. We've established a quorum.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the bill.
Okay, if you'll just give us 1 second, we'll be happy to take that motion. Let's give Ms. Skinner a chance to close. Ms. Skinner, would you like to close?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there's any questions from members, I'm happy to address them. I think you've heard from the sponsors and also from the our previous opponents, so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
I second the motion. Okay, well, there's a motion from Mr. Hall. I think Mr. Emerson beat you to the punch, Mr. Adams, and welcome to the committee, by the way. My pleasure to be here. And the motion is do pass and re-refer to Business and Professions Committee with the author's commitment to take the amendments which are before the committee in mock-up form with the one technical change that was discussed a moment ago, to take those amendments in B and P. Any questions or further discussion by members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you again, Ms. Skinner, for bringing the bill to the committee. Let's call the roll on the motion.
Jones.
Aye.
Jones, aye. Fletcher. Adams. Aye. Adams, aye. Amiano. Aye. Amiano, aye. Block.
You told me to say aye. I tell you.
Skinner.
Aye.
Skinner, aye. Conway. De La Torre. Aye. De La Torre, aye. De Leon. Emerson. Aye. Emerson, aye. Gaines. Hall. Aye. Hall, aye. Hayashi. Fuentes. Lowenthal. Aye. Lowenthal, aye. Nava. Perez. Salas. Aye. Salas, aye. Strickland. Strickland, aye.
That's 10. Congratulations. Your bill is out of the Health Committee, and you're off to B and P. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to call item number 1, AB 535, Mr. Amiano's bill. Mr. Amiano, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to thank your staff and the chair and my consultant and staff for working out amendments to this bill, and I will accept all those amendments. I can read them quickly if you'd like. We would require in the annual utilization reports of long-term care facilities required by Health and Safety Code Section 127285, all SNFs report discharge by death, by age, and gender and date. Require OSHPD to compile and make available the reported data by county and by facility upon the request of the EDRT. And thirdly, authorize OSHPD to include additional census and utilization information, such as whether the facility offered a hospice program or other specialized programs, as for Alzheimer's. And basically, this bill and this measure is designed to provide a mechanism for county elder death review teams to better assist local agencies in identifying and reviewing opportunities to provide better care to residents at long-term care facilities. Unfortunately, every year, approximately 40,000 residents die at all over 1,400 long-term care facilities statewide. And while many of these deaths, of course, are naturally from natural causes, it is not unreasonable to believe that a small percentage of these deaths may be hastened by inadequate care or neglect. Although it is required that certain individuals, as defined by law, report episodes of suspected abuse, neglect, or suspicious deaths to the Department of Health Services Licensing and Certification Division of the State Attorney General's Office, Elder Abuse Unit, there is no requirement that the same information be reported to elder death review teams, even though these teams are tasked with offering recommendations on how to improve care at long-term care facilities. I have with me today Mr. Prescott Cole of the California Association of Nursing Home Reform to testify in support of the bill.
Okay, before you do that, let me just make sure that the viewers at home are able to follow. All the members have been given a set of amendments that the Assembly member has kindly consented to take as author's amendments that have been worked out between the committee and the author. In a nutshell, what the amendments do is accomplish the objective of the author, which is to try to get data, needed data, into the hands of the elder death review teams, but it does not create a new direct reporting obligation to the EDRT. Instead, it utilizes an existing reporting obligation that facilities already have to OSHPD, adds one or two additional data elements, and then upon request, the EDRT can get the information. And I want to thank the author very, very much for working so closely with the committee to address concerns that have been raised by some who I think we'll hear a little bit later on about the concerns regarding a new direct report obligation. I want to thank the author also for bringing this bill forward, because obviously everybody, the industry, advocates, this committee, all the members, are very concerned to make sure that things go as they should in these facilities. Why don't we go ahead and hear from your principal spokesperson?
Thank you very much. Prescott Cole from the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform, and Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We very much appreciate the direction that this bill has taken, and the direction is that this bill can make a beginning to address some problems that we've been facing within our system, which is we are not tracking the instances of deaths in facilities. Unbelievably, the ombudsmen are not made aware of deaths as they appear in the facility. It's not part of our system. Department of Health Services does not collect the data and track deaths as they occur in the facility. The district attorneys aren't involved. The attorney general isn't involved in tracking instances of death. So if there's patterns where, for instance, in one facility in a town that has maybe 4 or 5 different nursing homes, if one facility has 5 or 6 deaths in a week and another facility has 1 or 2, and then the next week that same facility that had 5 suddenly has 10 deaths, there's no way to pick that up in our current system. That's why this bill is extremely important, although what this bill will accomplish now because of OSHPD material will be at the end of the year, there'll be an accumulation of material that you can look back on to say what has happened over the last year. Ultimately, we would like to see a future where we have a system that we can start tracking deaths as they occur to make the situation in the facilities more viable. Viable in that individuals who will go in there will be more assured that they have a safe environment. So if people are dying between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. in a facility consistently, that might point to problems such as inadequate staffing. So this bill is a very strong bill because it offers a collection of information. We're very grateful that this bill has the opportunity, and we think that the system will see with the information that more information will be actually more helpful, and we are very much in support. Thank you for your attention on this bill.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support who wish to identify themselves and the fact of their support?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Gary Passmore, speaking on behalf of the Congress of California Seniors. We are very strongly supportive of the goals of the author of this bill. We can support the amendments, by the way, and I'd like to say for the record that we would like to see something closer to Senator Romero's bill of several years ago, 1644, because our great concern is what happens when there is a suspicious or questionable death of an elder outside of a nursing home or hospital, frankly. We believe that because those facilities are staffed with health professionals that are highly regulated, that there's probably far less likelihood of some suspicious behavior in those institutions. But we're greatly concerned that the state does not really take notice of suspicious deaths of elders who are in their homes or in some other circumstance. So we can support this bill as it comes to you today amended and hope that this issue can be revisited in the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Julia Hassel on behalf of AARP's 3.4 million California members. We support this bill.
Thank you.
Henny Kelly on behalf of the California Alliance for Retired Americans and its 850,000 members. We support this bill also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good. Now let's hear from those that had concerns about the bill.
Mr. Chair, members, Dave Helmsen on behalf of the California Association of Health Facilities. I'd start off by saying we appreciate the author's work here. We certainly share the concern that everybody in one of our facilities be appropriately protected. We had problems with the original version of the bill. The amendments make more sense. They tie in the responsibilities to an existing process, and we think are a manageable way to collect the data. So we'd be willing to drop our opposition based on these amendments. I'd be remiss if I didn't just say one thing for the committee's benefit, though. I'm convinced that the facilities that I represent are the most controlled environment in the state for deaths. We don't rely on the ombudsman. We don't rely on the death review teams. In addition to what we bring as a profession, we also have doctors that are by law required to report suspicious deaths to the coroner's office. We have facilities that also report to the coroners as well as to the Department of Health Services, which has 600 people involved in 17 district offices overseeing suspicious activity in nursing homes. We have individuals, everybody near that patient is a mandated reporter under elder abuse with criminal jeopardy if they don't report things of this nature. So we think that we've done a good job. In fact, the number of deaths in nursing homes is reduced by 50% in the last 5 years. Now, I'd like to take credit for some new magic we've got, but what it really is, honestly, is the fact that we as a society are developing better medical care and more opportunities for people to age and die in place. So we've got a role to play in the system, and that's to help families deal with death. And we thought the other bill was non-productive. The amendments, I think, are consistent with that role. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman and members, Barbara Glazer with the California Hospital Association. A number of our hospitals operate skilled nursing facilities and are impacted by this bill. We oppose the bill for the very same reasons as Mr. Helmsen stated, but with these amendments, I believe we'll be going to a neutral position. I want to thank the chair and his staff and the author for the amendments.
Thank you.
Peter Kellison on behalf of two different clients, Aging Services of California, which represent the not-for-profit skilled nursing facilities in California, removing their opposition for the reasons previously stated. California Hospice and Palliative Care Association, which also will remove its opposition based upon these amendments, as the bill no longer will inadvertently impact the admission of the terminally ill to skilled nursing facilities. Appreciate the author, the committee, the chair's attention to the issue.
Thank you very much. Others who fell into category of those with concerns who wish to testify at this time. Any questions for the author by members of the committee? Ms. Salas.
Yes, thank you. When I was reading the analysis, what I couldn't understand was that it says that 33 counties participate with these EDRTs. And so then that means that there's a number of counties that don't have these teams. So how does your legislation enhance our ability to collect the kind of information you're seeking from those those counties that don't have those teams?
Thank you. You're correct. Not all counties have elder death review teams. All counties may have them. It's a system where each county can put one together. And they are growing slowly, but they're growing where a few years ago there were none. Now we have that amount. So what the bill would do is for the existing elder death review teams, it would provide this information. If the county doesn't have an elder death review team, then it just is there for them should they ever get an elder death review team. And that could be valuable as well, because when they establish an elder death review team, because OSHPD will have the information, they'll be able to go back through the several years as far as they want, as I'm projecting from January 1st, 2011, when the bill comes into effect.
Oh, okay, so the information that you're seeking is going to be provided is going to be required of every facility in California, whether or not they have an EDR.
Correct. OSHPD will gather the information, and the elder death review team will get permission to get access. But there's no mandate that they actually should get that information. There's no shall involved. It'll make that information available to them should they want that.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the chair of the Committee on Aging, Ms. Lowenthal, wishes to ask a question or speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Mr. Amiano for bringing this bill forward and for working with my staff and the Assembly Consultant on Aging to create something that is, I think, a much better bill at this point. What I'm finding is the development of a process that will be reassuring to many people as the review teams will be able to access more information. And I hope that that will be as reassuring to the people who run nursing homes and have, as you heard from Mr. Helmsen, they certainly have programs in place to do that review, but this will give even more reassurance, I think, to people whose family members have passed away. So because of those amendments, I am willing to support it and look forward to hearing it in the Aging Committee next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Amiano, first of all, thank you for taking the amendments and working with the committee. It effectively had changed my position on the matter, and I'm happy to support the bill. I did want to offer this one sort of prescient concern that I have, and that is that the collection of data in and of itself doesn't mean anything. The interpretation of that data is what really matters. And I was, frankly, a little bit alarmed at the suggestion that this was just going to be collected and then people could just willy-nilly make up any conclusion that they wanted without a proper investigation into the causal matter rather than just a corollary consideration. A host of really bad public policy could ensue. So as I'm sure this bill moves along and as hopefully you track its progress, not only from the committee perspective, but ultimately through signature and implementation, I would hope that there would be strenuous checks in place to ensure that a proper evaluation of the data occurs as well. With that, I'm happy to support the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Ms. Strickland.
I just had a question about the fee component that was in place in the original bill that there was. Has that been taken care of with this amendment?
Part. Is that right?
I believe that's all out.
I think there was.
It's all out.
Okay, so there's nothing regarding any fees in there. Okay, thank you.
Because the service is already provided, right?
Pardon me.
That still is in. Sorry.
Yeah, let me explain.
Okay, I think there's a little confusion. What I'm being told is that little fee is still in. It's a modest fee to allow the EDRTs to have access to death certificates because they get charged if they're seeking access to death certificates. And this sort of goes to the question that Mr. Adams raised about making sure that they have complete information.
It's a waiver.
But it's a fee waiver.
Yes, because currently what happens if somebody wants a death certificate, there's a procedure and you give a fee and the individual gets either a certified copy or they can get a copy with that. So there's a fee involved. So this would clarify that if you were the elder death review team and only getting the information electronically via their electronic system, then any fee waivers, should that come up, would be waived because this is the county basically.
So it's a reduction in fees.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good. Ms. Strickland.
Is there clarification that can be provided?
I just want to make sure that you were, when you use the word fee, weren't talking about the penalties that were in the bill in its prior version. And that has
different things. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, that has been stricken. And
Okay, so but if an ADRT does request death certificates from a county, they would pay whatever fees are associated.
No, this would be electronic access, and there's no fee for, they just get a password so they can get onto the data system. That's all that was.
Great, thank you very much for the clarification.
Fee instead of fine.
Excellent question. Any other questions by members? Mr. Emerson.
Yeah, Mr. Helmson, it appears to me that they're asking for 5 additional pieces of information in this bill. One is time of death, which they think may show that there's a staffing problem there. Are you required currently under current law to show what your staffing ratios are throughout the days?
Yeah, I mean, we have staffing ratios we're required to meet by day, and that information is subject to review and is included as a major part of the system evaluation of the facilities on an annual basis. So we keep those records. We provide those records upon request.
So some of this information here is redundant information.
No, the information specifically on time of death is not redundant, and I understand the value of that information, and to the extent that it points to some trend, if you will, by shift or something. I mean, this group has never been afraid of disclosure. We are the most fully disclosed healthcare provider in the world, and if we can find out more about what we're doing and ways to address those things in the facilities, we're happy to do that, as long as it's done in a manageable process. And I thank the chair and his staff for their effort in putting together a process here that I think achieves the objectives without overburdening the providers. And I apologize. I don't know if Kevin Hanley got out of the building, but I didn't have a chance to update him on all of this before you folks got your consultant analysis. Thanks.
Very good. Well, I want to thank the California Association of Health Facilities and the hospitals and the Aging Services and the Hospice Association for working so closely with the author. I think we've come up with a set of amendments that achieve the objective of the sponsor, but do so in a way that doesn't increase the burden unduly on the industry, and I appreciate everyone working to that end. We've had some good questions from members. Let me just double check once more to see if there are any others. With that then, Mr. Amiano, would you like to close?
I would appreciate an aye vote on this. Thank you so much for your scrutiny.
Mr. Amiano, thank you so much for your hard work on this. It's a motion from Mr. Adams. Is there a second? There's a second from Mr. Fuentes. The motion is do pass and re-refer to the Aging Committee with the amendments to be taken in Aging. It's my understanding from the committee secretary that because the bill is double referred and because of the deadline necessary to get a bill out of its first house in the second year of a 2-year session, that we can't physically take the amendments in this committee, but we have the commitment of the author and the ever vigilance of this committee, and we know these amendments will be taken in the next committee. Also, we have the chair of the committee who sits on the committee. So with that, let's call the roll.
Jones?
Aye.
Jones, aye. Fletcher? Adams? Aye. Adams, aye. Amiano?
Aye.
Amiano, aye. Block?
Aye.
Block, aye. Skinner? Aye. Skinner, aye. Conway? De La Torre? Aye. De La Torre, aye. De Leon? Aye. De Leon, aye. Emerson? Aye. Emerson, aye. Gaines? Aye. Gaines, aye. Hall? Aye. Hall, aye. Hayashi? Aye. Hayashi, aye. Fuentes? Aye. Fuentes, aye. Lowenthal? Aye. Lowenthal, aye. Nava?
Aye.
Nava, aye. Perez? Aye. Perez, aye. Salas?
Aye.
Salas, aye. Strickland?
I looked over here for you, Patty. Where'd you go? Oh, Connie. It's good to see you.
And I'm not a good substitute.
No, you're okay. So that bill is out. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Amiano, for all your work on this important measure. Next, we're going to call item number 3, AB 1019, Mr. Bell's bill, dealing with alcohol-related service programs. This matter is here before the committee on reconsideration, and as such noticed for vote only. And so, as a result, we're not able to accept testimony on the measure. Mr. Bell, if you want to come forward, however, as it is your bill. And just because it has been a couple of months since we were all here considering this measure, maybe you can just at least recap what the measure does for the committee, although we're not permitted to take testimony on either side. Mr. Bell.
I know you have reports. The bill simply establishes in the state of California a 10-cent fee on alcohol, and that includes beer, wine, and distilled spirits per drink. And the fee would go to specific related alcohol impacts. So it does have the nexus of creating a fee because it's real specific in terms of DUI, treatment, health, any health-related impact due to alcohol. And so that's essentially the bill. The bill was voted on in this committee and asked for reconsideration. Respectfully asked for an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Okay, so at this time, the chair will entertain a motion. The motion would be due pass to the Governmental Organization Committee as the bill was double referred by the Rules Committee. So the chair will look for a motion at this time on the measure. Okay, this motion from Mr. Amiano, a second from Ms. Skinner. Okay, why don't we go ahead and call the roll on the measure then?
Jones?
Aye.
Jones, aye. Fletcher? Adams?
No.
Adams, no. Amiano? Aye. Amiano, aye. Block?
Not voting.
Skinner? Aye. Skinner, aye. Conway?
No.
Conway, no. De La Torre? De Leon? De Leon, aye. Emerson? No. Emerson, no. Gaines? No. Gaines, no. Hall? No. Hall, no. Hayashi? No. Hayashi, no. Fuentes?
No.
Fuentes, no. Lowenthal?
Aye.
Lowenthal, aye. Nava?
Not voting.
Perez?
Not voting.
Salas?
Not voting.
Strickland?
No.
Strickland, no. That's five, needs five.
Okay, that measure has 5 aye votes. How many no votes? 7 no votes. The measure needs an additional 5 votes to get out, and there are, how many members of the committee? 19. Okay, so that's where we are right now. And Mr. Bell, did you wish to be?
Comments?
Okay. We don't have any other measures before the committee at this time. I want to give any member an opportunity to add on to this measure. We'll call the roll one last time on this measure, and then we're going to close down the committee.
We reopen on the first measure.
Yeah, I missed. Can I vote on this one?
You can. Oh, I'm sorry. Members have asked me if they were absent on the first 2 measures, whether they can add on, and the answer to that is yes. Once we shut down this part of the hearing. Okay, so let's call the absent members. Let's call the. Well, there were no members absent, were there, at this juncture? No, I'm talking about 1019, item number 3. Okay, let's call the absent members on AB 1019.
Fletcher?
Okay. Any other votes wish to be cast on AB 1019? Okay, with that, that measure fails passage because of a shortage of votes. Members who wish to add on at this time may do so by contacting the committee secretary. And with that, the committee is adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.